Mike Papantonio is on the line with us. Pap, welcome back.
Tom, how are you?
I am great. Great to have you with us. Attorney and host of Ring of Fire Radio, ringofireradio.com. And, it seems to me that we have been, and I'd like to get your take on this. You're an attorney, and you really know the Constitution well. This whole thing, the Supreme Court carved a hole in the Fifth Amendment in the Miranda ruling, saying that if there was basically a ticking time bomb, or in the case of the case came before the court was a gun, a loaded gun, that the police could ask a few questions before they informed a citizen of his rights. Apparently, it's being reported that this young 19-year-old terrorist, or alleged terrorist, stopped talking 16 hours after he began being interrogated because he was read his rights. Mm-hmm. And 16 hours is a whole lot less time than, frankly, I don't think Bush ever would have read him his rights. He'd be in Guantanamo or something. This is better than nothing. But still, it may be that frankly they just decided to read him his rights because he had said everything that they thought was useful and there was nothing more left in him. That's my personal theory. Yeah. But shouldn't we, if we are going to say that we are governed by the Constitution and these are the values that we hold to, shouldn't we simply say these are the values we hold to, regardless of the crime?
No, there are exceptions to everything, Tom. I mean, of course, I come at this from having been a prosecutor, but I've also been criminal defense on the criminal defense side. There are certain situations. I mean, there's an exception to every part of the Constitution in one form or fashion. It just has to do with the needs of society. But here, this is called the public safety exception, or sometimes referred to as the exigent circumstances exception. And it's where you say the police officer has a reasonable argument to say that there was an imminent threat to somebody else in the community, maybe around Boston, or that there were other accomplices at large, or that there was no evidence, there was specific evidence of a broader plot. So, I mean, that's not an unreasonable type of standard. As a matter of fact, that standard lived through the Warren Court, which, as you probably know, was a fairly progressive, liberal kind of court. Mm-hmm. And they said there are naturally times when a police officer has to do certain things without jumping through all the hoops on issues like Miranda. And so I don't really see any problem with it. Frankly, nothing has been expanded by anything that has happened here except except what they may have done is they may have given this this defendant a chance to have a lot of what he said thrown out of court. Now, because it's always a value judgment, Tom. Ultimately, a judge has to hear the facts, and they have to say, okay, well, yeah, it's reasonable to not have read him Miranda because it was possible that after hour number 4 there wasn't a problem, after number 5 there was a problem. You see, they have to do it by the total circumstances. Here, this is a very difficult problem for this particular defendant. This defendant right now is being handled obviously just as a private U.S. citizen rather than any kind of enemy combatant. But the things that he's saying and the things that he's doing are kind of should cause concern to his defense team. The whole issue of separating the regular defendant who's simply a citizen, U.S. citizen, he's been charged with something, and the idea of being called an enemy combatant, being able to be handled completely different, is this, and that is whether or not this defendant was acting by way of any kind of direction or being by way of an association or being motivated or engaged. Very, very loose words here, by the way, I want to point out, by Al-Qaeda or by any terrorist group that might be related to Al-Qaeda or the Taliban. Now, that, of course, came out of 9/11. And so right now we hear him making, there's things that are happening. The idea of the statement that, the driver wasn't killed because he wasn't an American, that shows intent. In other words, what's driving this defendant? The idea that, on day one he's talking freely about a lot of things, and as he's talking, he's saying things like, my brother was motivated by political ideology, if you drill right down to it. And then the second thing is that we learned how to build this bomb from directions from Al Qaeda. So these are all things the defense has got to be concerned about, because the issue is the difference of a death penalty. I mean, we're not just talking about did he do it. I think they're going to be able to establish he did it. But the next question is, how do you keep him alive as a defendant in all of this? So there's a lot of moving parts to this. I do like the fact that the administration is presently taking the position that he's not an enemy combatant, and that they don't want to create a hybrid between something that looks like an enemy combatant and I suppose a private citizen.
Yeah, I think the Bush administration drilled enough holes in the Constitution.
Oh.
And between you and Bybee, John Yoo and Jay Bybee, that it just it twisted it into a pretzel. And to his credit, I think that President Obama, by refusing to use the phrase "war on terror" and dialing back. Now, we can criticize his drone policy and other things, but still, I think we have moved in a far more positive direction than we would have if, for example, John McCain was president right now.
Well, he's at least showing some elements of being the constitutional law professor that he was. Some of that is finally surfacing. It surfaces rarely lately, but this seems to be a time that it is surfacing. He realizes that if you take what Bybee and you did in interpreting how far the president can go, it could be argued that the president even has right to come up with some hybrid that all of a sudden a U.S. citizen who simply has broken the law is thrown into some element of being an enemy combatant. And I think this president and the people around him are at least aware of that today. Now, will that change? I don't know. Yeah. But I can tell you the statements by people like Graham and McCain, Gomer, these boneheads that have no sense of what the intellectual analysis is. Those statements are very reckless and they're dangerous, because the truth is the police did a very good job here, Tom. They did a great job. They did it right. They did it the way they were supposed to. Far better than the military has shown they're able to do.
Yeah. And Mike, if I may interrupt, my favorite headline after this kid was arrested was "Terrorist Brought Down by Union Thugs." And, of course, it was the unionized police department. Go ahead.
well, that is true. But if you look at what was done from day one, I'm hugely, having done criminal, I'm hugely critical sometimes. These guys did a good job.
Yeah, I agree. These union thugs, they did a great job, and God bless them. We need more police unions and stronger ones in this country. Mike Papantonio, you can watch, you can listen to his show, watch his show, learn all about it at ringoffireradio.com. Pap, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Tom.
Great talking with you. It's 16 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back.